In the sprawling saga of Killer Instinct, two figures stand out not only as warriors of immense power, but as siblings bound by destiny. Jago, the monk devoted to the tiger spirit, forever struggling against inner corruption. Orchid, the firebrand spy, wielding secrets, sabotage, and the mysterious Firecat. Separated at birth and set upon divergent paths, their lives would collide in a crucible of tournaments, megacorp machinations, and the demonic schemes of the titan Gargos. Their stories are mirrors of sacrifice and survival, parallel journeys that, when examined, reveal one of the deepest bonds in the Killer Instinct universe. From the frozen heights of the Himalayas, Jago's story begins as one of devotion, discipline, and deception. Abandoned as a child, he was raised by monks of the Tiger Temple, trained not only in combat, but in the pursuit of spiritual purity. His life was one of meditation, ritual, and restraint, until the day a vision changed everything. A spirit in the form of a great tiger appeared before him, granting him power beyond mortal comprehension, and commanding him to seek his destiny in battle. Jago accepted without hesitation, unaware that this so-called spirit was not a blessing, but the first step in a dangerous manipulation. When the Killer Instinct tournament was announced, Jago entered not for glory, but for destiny. Guided by what he believed was the tiger spirit, he fought his way through Ultratech's champions, facing their perfected war machine, Fulgor, in a clash of man versus machine. Victorious, Jago returned to his temple. His ending spoke of enlightenment achieved, of new powers earned through service, and a path leading ever closer to truth. But beneath the surface, something darker stirred. The tiger spirit was not the guardian he believed it to be. Jago soon discovered the cruel truth. The spirit that guided him was no spirit at all, but Gargos, the demonic warlord imprisoned in the void, who had used Jago as a pawn to secure his release. The revelation shattered Jago's faith. The disciplined monk who once sought enlightenment was now a man consumed by vengeance. Jago's story branches into several possible endings, each beginning with the affirmation that Jago's task is complete. He has risen to the heights of which only a Grand Master can attain. Yet what follows depends on the choices made in battle. If Jago defeats the Fulgor Mark II unit, sent by Ultratech specifically to hunt him down, while sparing Orchid, his victory feels complete. Not only has he destroyed his cybernetic nemesis, but he also learns the shocking truth. Orchid is his long-lost elder sister. United at last, the two form a deadly partnership, but even together they cannot rest. Ultratech is rebuilt, and the fight continues. If, however, Jago kills Orchid, but spares Fulgor, his path ends in tragedy. The monk remains ever wary of the machine's return, but vigilance alone is not enough. Fulgor seizes its chance, and finally exacts revenge. With no one left to oppose him, the cyborg rises to power, reshaping history into a world utterly ruled by Ultratech. Should Jago kill both Orchid and Fulgor, his triumph feels hollow. He may have destroyed his greatest foe, yet through meditation he senses something vital has been lost, something beyond his grasp. Enough of Ultratech remains to be rebuilt, and Jago's quest must go on. And finally, if Jago spares both Orchid and Fulgor, destiny takes a different turn. Fulgor inevitably returns to strike, but Orchid intervenes, revealing herself as both an ally and a savior. Together, they overwhelm the cyborg. Still, even with Fulgor destroyed, Ultratech endures, and the new team of Jago and Orchid must face the familiar shadow of a corporation that refuses to die. In the 2013 Killer Instinct reboot, Jago's past is expanded upon. Abandoned as a baby at a monastery in the Himalayas, he was taken in and trained by the monks of the Tiger. As he grew, he became a disciplined Tibetan warrior, devoted to the tiger spirit that guided him towards self-mastery and enlightenment. But Jago's life was far from serene. As a young man, he faced betrayal when a fellow warrior, corrupted by the Shadow Lord Gargos, attempted to kill him. In self-defense, Jago ended his friend's life, setting him on a path of isolation and introspection in a remote mountain cave. Here the tiger spirit visited him, infusing him with tremendous power and shaping him into a warrior of unparalleled skill. Though it would turn out that the tiger spirit was not all that it seemed to be. Jago's journey through Ultratech's Killer Instinct tournament branches into several possible endings, each reflecting his struggle with the darkness within. In the standard ending, Jago fails to fully purge Gargos' influence. Locked in an endless internal war, he retreats to the abandoned Tiger Temple. There he vows to confront his crisis of faith head-on and continue his path towards becoming the true master of the Tiger Spirit. If Jago performs an Ultra on Orchid, the story takes a darker turn. Shattered by the act of ending his sister's self-destructive crusade, Jago's will falters. Gargos' corruption surges, shattering the monk's discipline. Engulfed in hatred, he is reborn, not as a guardian, but as a weapon of chaos. And finally, if his story is completed on medium or hard difficulty, Jago claims a fleeting victory. The demons within seem to quiet, offering him a moment's peace. Yet the memory of his lost sister lingers, burning in his heart like an ember that will never die. Tortured by this unending spiritual struggle, Jago chooses exile, returning once more to the silent halls of the Tiger Temple. Jago's complicated heritage is further expanded upon and tied to the mega corporation Ultratech. His grandmother was used as a test subject in World War II in a secret military project called Ares 9, a project led by the founder of Ultratech himself, Riot Adams. Jago's father, Jacob, was an American SEAL, and his mother an aid worker, who mysteriously vanished with him as an infant in the Himalayas. This personal history of loss and abandonment reinforced his dedication to discipline and spiritual focus. He practiced meditation, Ashtanga yoga, and studied philosophy, all while honing his martial abilities. Yet even the purest of hearts can be tested. Possessed by the dark entity Omen, Jago became Shadow Jago, a destructive force unleashed across the world to feed Gargos' power. Overcoming this corruption, Jago subdued his shadow self and began a journey of atonement, seeking to purify the remnants of Gargos' influence within him. Not long after, the scheming sorcerer Khan Ra was deceived by the Shadow Lord Gargos into opening a portal to the astral plane. The demon's corruption then began to seep into Earth. If left unchecked, this growing corruption would pave the way for Gargos' full invasion. It was then that Jago rose to answer the call, joining a coalition of fighters alongside Ultratech to stand against the encroaching darkness. It was during this period that Jago's path intersected with Kim Woo, the young inheritor of the Dragon Spirit, one of the last 3 astral guardians. A mysterious portal would open, out of which stepped one of Gargos' powerful agents, Omen himself. In the streets of San Francisco's Chinatown, Jago and Kim battled the astral spawn, testing their strength and resolve. Upon defeating Omen, Jago was drawn through the portal, where Gargos revealed his true form. Despite Jago's skill and strength, he was blasted back through the portal, seriously wounded, his body collapsing onto the streets below. A mimic Kim Woo followed, but was defeated by the real Kim, who retrieved an astral relic dropped following the fight. The dark sorcerer Khan Ra then appeared, stating Kim Woo was needed, along with other Killer Instinct fighters, in order to craft a weapon capable of defeating Gargos. After teleporting both her and Jago to his secret lair, he bargains with Kim, requesting an item she found in exchange for another relic that would revive Jago. Restored to life, Jago rejoined the alliance of fighters, now strengthened by the experience, and prepared to continue the fight against Gargos and his dark legions. Jago's story is one of constant struggle between the light and darkness of the human spirit. Even after surviving the corruption of Shadow Jago and confronting Gargos' might, he remains a figure of perseverance. But while Jago battles the shadows within and without, another warrior blazes her own trail. The warrior monk's long-lost sister, Orchid, whose own path through Ultratech's machinations and the fight against Gargos will test her resolve, cunning, and the bonds of family. Orchid enters Killer Instinct as one of the game's most enigmatic fighters. Introduced simply as B. Orchid, she is a covert operative sent by an unknown agency to infiltrate the Killer Instinct tournament and uncover the truth behind the disappearances tied to Ultratech. Little is known of her true origins, and even her abilities carry an air of secrecy. What is clear, however, is her role in shaping the fate of the tournament. Canonically, it is Orchid who defeats the monstrous idol, toppling the Titan and securing critical information that exposes Ultratech's corruption. Her survival ensures that her superiors can act against the megacorporation, setting the stage for a larger war. But victory comes at a cost. In Killer Instinct 2, the death of Idol unleashes catastrophic energy that tears a rift in time, dragging Ultratech and Orchid herself 2 millennia into the past. Here, she faces an even greater threat in the form of Gargos, a demonic titan whose power may eclipse even that of Idol. Orchid's endings hinge on her choices. If she kills both Saberwolf and Jago, Gargos curses her, binding her to the same fate that once ensnared her brother. She returns home, victorious, but hollow, mourning the sibling she never knew. If she kills Jago, but spares Saberwolf, Gargos' spirit possesses the wolf, and Orchid falls in battle. If she kills Saberwolf, but spares Jago, Gargos' curse reveals the truth, that Jago is her brother. The siblings are reunited, forming a new fighting team, bound by blood. And if she spares both Saberwolf and Jago, Gargos still lashes out, possessing Saberwolf. Yet this time, Jago intervenes, slaying the wolf and rescuing Orchid. Together, they begin a new life, siblings fighting against the darkness. These endings reveal Orchid's true significance in the mythos, not merely a secret agent, but the missing half of a family fractured by fate. But their relationship wouldn't be fully realized until the much later reboot of the franchise in Killer Instinct 2013. Here, Orchid's past is laid bare in more detail. Born to a Navy SEAL father, she was raised in a strict military household, where combat training began in childhood. Her father's legacy, combined with the shadow of Project Ares 9, a wartime experiment involving her grandmother, bestowed her with a volatile power, the ability to summon the spectral Firecat. From a young age, Orchid struggled with emotional instability, episodes of rage, and an unshakable paranoia that would shape her adult life. Orchid's father would later be killed, leaving behind his journal that later found its way into his daughter's hands. Within its pages, she discovered her father had had another child following an affair with an aid worker in Pakistan. The woman had disappeared with the child, however, somewhere in the Himalayas. Orchid's career began in the Special Warfare Department of Homeland Security, but Ultratech framed her as a traitor, branding her a terrorist and forcing her into exile. In Eastern Europe, she built the Disavowed, a clandestine spy ring made up of those who had suffered at Ultratech's hands. Through sabotage, espionage, and guerrilla warfare, they sought to dismantle the megacorporation piece by piece. Among those she recruited was Eagle, Thunder's brother, whose mysterious disappearance in Ultratech's Killer Instinct tournament drove Orchid to adopt the alias Black Orchid and enter the following year's contest herself. Orchid's investigation leads her into direct confrontation with Sidera, leader of the Red Eyes of Relay assassins, and the true leader of Ultratech, the AI, Arya. Her story endings once again reflect her volatile nature. In one, she survives her battles and becomes a mercenary angel of vengeance, intent on burning Ultratech to the ground. In another, she spirals into obsession, her network growing increasingly unstable, as she leaves behind only chaos and terror in her crusade. Yet perhaps the most poignant revelation comes in her bond with Jago. For much of her journey, she does not realize that the warrior monk who nearly killed her is her younger brother. It is only in battle, staring into his eyes, identical to those of their late father, that the truth is revealed. Together, the siblings join forces, Orchid driven by fury and vengeance, and Jago haunted by corruption and faith. United, they stand in the war against Gargos and, though they have agreed to a temporary truce until the Shadow Lord is defeated, Ultratech. Though their paths began from very different places, Jago and Orchid are defined by a shared theme: the fight for identity amidst manipulation. Jago, raised in isolation, sought purity and discipline, only to learn he had been a pawn of Gargos. His story is one of inward struggle, a battle to master the shadows within. Orchid, by contrast, wages war in the open. Branded a terrorist, betrayed by Ultratech, she forms the disavowed and lashes out with fire and fury, embracing chaos as her weapon. Yet despite these differences, the siblings' stories converge in powerful ways. Both are manipulated by forces greater than themselves, Jago by false spirits, Orchid by shadowy agencies and Ultratech schemes. Both uncover truths that shatter their identities, yet also awaken their connection to one another. Where Jago embodies restraint, meditation, and perseverance, Orchid represents passion, rebellion, and burning vengeance. Together they are a balance, the tiger and the Firecat, brother and sister, standing united against gods, machines, and corporations that would bend the world to their will. If you enjoyed diving into the world of Killer Instinct, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more lore explorations, and share this video with fellow fighting game fans. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so be sure to leave a comment below. Which sibling, Jago or Orchid, is your favorite? And if you'd like to support the channel even further, consider joining my Patreon, where you can access these videos early, as well as be able to help shape future retrospectives. As always, be excellent to yourselves and one another, and I'll see you soon.
Killer Instinct.